Hello, my name is James. I use he, him, his pronouns, and I am a senior film student here at Missouri State University, and I am also the worship arts and LGBTQ plus peer minister with Ekklesia. I am kindly asking that you bear with me as I am currently suffering from a cold right now. But I do want to talk about the ways in which I have felt welcomed by the community that we have created here and the ways in which I hope to welcome others. So to talk about the ways in which I feel welcomed, we kind of have to go back to my freshman year. I had just moved to Missouri State University. I am from near Kansas City. And now that I was kind of on my own, I was in a period of reflection about my upbringing in churches that were primarily very conservative Christian, very fundamentalist, and I was starting to really unpack that, and I was also starting to accept myself more openly in terms of my identity as a queer person, as a bisexual person, and I was at a student org festival one day, and I saw this giant rainbow banner, and me, a newly queer, I timidly approached, and there was Michelle, and she was just completely kind and welcoming. She gave me a gift card, I think, and I saw on the banner that there was, phrases like science and faith can coexist, like there's a place in the church for racial justice, LGBTQ plus inclusion, and that just really struck a chord with me because I had never seen anything like that in the churches that I grew up in. I had always been, whenever I had thoughts about social justice and social justice movements, and I had brought anything up in the church, it was pretty quickly shut down because it opposed the views and kind of the morals of the churches that I went to. Not that all churches are like that, but certainly the ones that I went to. And I was kind of anxious, but over the next couple of weeks I started to attend services, and they were unlike anything I'd ever seen. There was poetry readings from like Maya Angelou and Mary Oliver, and there was hymns from areas that are not Eurocentric, and that was completely. There was the Tibetan singing bowl, which we used to open our services, and it was just unlike anything I'd ever seen before. And in this place, I was told that I was allowed to ask questions, and not just questions about my faith and my spirituality and what parts of Christianity I want to decide to reject and accept, but also about myself, questions about myself and my queerness. And one thing was just made abundantly clear in every service. Michelle says it in every single Michelle or Tracy say it in every single communion that we do, that you are welcome to the table. All of who you are is welcome to the table. And that was just something I had never heard from a church before, and it made me feel very seen. And it allowed me to grow as a person. And so over the last couple of years, I took on different roles, worship arts peer minister. I was the president for a little while. I am no longer, but I still retain the role of worship arts peer minister and LGBTQ plus peer minister, And I'm just really hoping that I can help others feel welcome by holding those same conversations that I had when I was exploring myself and my faith journey at the beginning stages. I'm really hoping that when people come to Ekklesia events, whether it's Sunday night dinners, Tuesday worships, queer film club, I'm just hoping that through conversations, people are aware that they can bring all of who they are, and that I'm not going to judge them, that other people in Ekklesia, in this community, are not going to judge them. and that they are welcome to ask questions, because asking questions it's part of being a person. It's part of being a human. And so I'm just really hoping that through conversations and through visibility as well, my visibility of being, an openly queer person, an openly trans man, that I can hopefully show others who might like me have not seen anyone like that in faith spaces growing up. And so those are just some of the ways in which I felt welcomed, and I hope to welcome others. And I look forward to the rest of this year and everything that Ekklesia has planned beyond me and beyond my graduation in the spring. So thank you.
Hello, my name is Duck, and I am another peer minister in Ekklesia. I knew I was welcomed at Ekklesia the very first time I stepped into worship, and everyone there greeted me, but no one overwhelmed me. That feeling of welcome grew as I started the journey of figuring out my religious and spiritual identity, and I was encouraged and supported the entire time. I ended up figuring out that Judaism was the right fit for me, and I have only had good reactions from the Ekklesia community as I've been on my conversion journey. Michelle has planned that once me and another student finish our conversion journeys, we will have people from the synagogue we go to sponsor a Sunday night dinner and have a celebration of our conversion and fully being converted all the way with synagogue members and members of Ekklesia. And I think that's one of the best ways to show how happy Ekklesia is that people can find the religion they need and get support from them. So far, one person who lives in the multicultural house that Ekklesia now has gone to the synagogue with us to just see what it's like and to experience another type of worship service. Other people in the multicultural house have expressed a lot of interest in wanting to experience more worship services of different faiths and religions that they are not a part of. I still go to Liberate worship services, and I still participate in them. One of the most recent things we've done at worship that showed me how seriously we take interfaith work was our last Tuesday night service. The holiday Rosh Hashanah started the night of September 15th, and last Tuesday we added Rosh Hashanah elements into worship to celebrate it. We talked about what Rosh Hashanah is, that it's one of the most important Jewish holidays, and it's the Jewish New Year, and how the high holidays are a time of introspection and personal growth. We had special prayers, shared a loaf of round challah bread instead of our normal communion bread, which is used to celebrate Rosh Hashanah in the cycle of the year. Michelle was very supportive and excited when I brought up the idea of making it a part of worship on Tuesday. It made me feel loved and accepted from an interfaith perspective. Many times in the past, we've added blessings and prayers from Jewish origin to Liberate, but this took that inclusion of our perspective one step further. I am the Interfaith and Community Outreach Peer Minister for Ekklesia, and I would not have taken this role if I thought Ekklesia was not truly an interfaith space. We help with the interfaith group on campus called Bears Better Together, and are involved with the Interfaith Alliance of the Ozarks. We help plan and lead trips to the Interfaith America Conference in Chicago every August, where we take students as a group and cover the cost for them to have a super fun experience and build their leadership skills. This year I went for the second time, and I came back with lots of ideas and inspiration to plan interfaith events and connect with other students on campus. One of the ideas from that trip is to have an interfaith council made of students from different religious and non-religious organizations that will come together to help plan holidays for different religious groups. During college, a lot of students are so far away from their home faith communities, or they're trying to reach out to faiths that they're really interested in becoming a part of. And I hope that this collection of student groups will help make that a little bit easier for these students. In the new multicultural house, we have an interfaith room so people can do their prayers or meditation or any sort of spiritual rituals they need in a safe space, whether they live in the house or on campus. And we're growing our interfaith library. We have ideas about events to bring more activities to MSU, and we're hoping that other students on campus will join us in making those events bigger. We're reaching out to our friends and partners who provide us Sunday night dinners to let them know about religious food restrictions to make sure everyone has something to eat. Because of Ekklesia taking me on trips to the Interfaith America conference, I have now gotten a certificate through Interfaith America in interfaith leadership, which will allow me to do a better job in this position and help people of faith feel welcomed and included. It's my turn to give to others what Ekklesia gave to me, and I'm excited for how Ekklesia is going to grow and make an even bigger impact.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, great. All right, my name is Elliot. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. I am the Access and Equity Peer Minister for Ekklesia. I'm also a senior communications student and planning to go to grad school to be a librarian next year. Yeah, I'm excited. Thank you. So this peer minister role is the newest one. Michelle added it last year when I started as a peer minister because she wanted Ekklesia to have a more intentional focus on being accessible and inclusive, welcoming neurodiversity, and ensuring that we don't just say that everyone's welcome, but that we back it up with commitment. Last year for Liberate Worship, which is our Tuesday night worship service we hold throughout the semester on campus, we did a series called Nope, which was all about saying no to some of the harmful ideologies that have kept us separated from our spiritual selves and the divine in the past. So students got the chance to propose our nope moments and to share our stories with them and I was able to talk about an experience I've had with saying no to a harmful expectation and choosing to make space for myself and others. This is something Michelle wanted me to talk about today because she said it really impacted her very strongly. And so here we go. You'll notice I'm sitting in a chair. This is what I do at Liberate Worship when I come up to read prayers or any other part of the service. We always have a chair up front ready for me or for anyone else who may need it. This is something I had asked Michelle if we could start doing because when I can stand, but it is difficult for me and it makes it harder to focus on the blessing that I'm trying to share with the group. And so the chair has become an intentional part of worship. It's a practical thing for me, but it's also a spiritual thing that signals the place we've created for people of different needs and abilities to participate in a way that's fully included, not just added in at the last minute. I was raised in many different types of churches, very different from this type of setting. One thing they all had in common was that there were times when everybody would be called to stand. This was not a situation where they'd say something like stand in rise in body or in spirit. It was just everybody stand up, you know? And a few years ago, well, maybe more like 5 now, I made the tiny but radical decision to stop standing up in church. I had chronic pain and fatigue that was becoming disabling even as a teenager. Now I use a cane full time and I have conditions where standing affects my blood pressure and other health things. I knew a lot of people in those church settings were judgmental or didn't understand why I was sitting, and a lot of them probably just saw me as a lazy teenager, especially when I didn't have my cane with me. And that was really difficult because many of these people I knew my whole life, and while they didn't know about my health issues yet or how disabling they were, I didn't want them to think that I was disrespecting the service. But I realized it was affecting my ability to worship, to be focused on staying upright and on the pain in my joints, rather than my own spiritual experience of the moment. Rather than keeping me engaged in the service as it's meant to do, it was keeping me from being able to enter the presence of God. I think we've all experienced barriers to entering this presence, whether it be stress, pain, or an identity someone has put on us and told us needs to be fixed. God doesn't need us to be fixed, but God knows what each of us need healed. God knows what I need healed, and it isn't my body or my sexuality or gender or the way I worship. For me, sitting is inherently part of my worship. It's important to me not just physically, but spiritually, because my spirit is shaped by my experience in the world, and that is shaped by how much of the world was not built with space for me. Creating space for myself is spiritual practice. I never stop talking or thinking about my disabilities because they come into every room with me and affect the way I interact with the world. Our identities and the things others have told us are wrong about us come into every room with us. And so allowing those to be a part of our faith and worship is a way to reclaim your identity as part of the living image of God. I read a commentary in the prayer book for our synagogue's Rosh Hashanah service yesterday morning, which really stuck out to me and I think ties perfectly into my message. It is this: unity is not uniformity. True peace comes through the expression of differences, many perspectives, each offering a partial view of the truth. Shalom means wholeness. I love the idea that peace means wholeness, not oneness in the sense that we are all the same, but wholeness in the sense that each individual is one piece of the whole, and that sharing our uniqueness brings us together rather than separates us. Every aspect of our identities is a part of the whole of us, and it doesn't serve us or the unique purpose we were created for to try and deny a piece of that whole. I would be incomplete if I didn't acknowledge and honor my disabilities, my neurodivergency, and every other part of me. And every community is incomplete when we don't honor and create space for the identities of every individual. We believe that fully at Ekklesia, and we acknowledge that finding new and better ways to honor everyone's uniqueness only makes us better and helps us to serve our purpose in the world. This is a space where students can walk in and know that they don't have to sacrifice or hide any part of themselves in order to be seen and loved and part of a community. And in my last year here, I hope to continue that effort. And I know it will continue to live on in the changes that have been made and in what we're learning every day as a community. Thanks.
Hello, as many of you know, my name is Veronica Lee and my pronouns are she, they. I am a 20-something-year-old white female. My hair is up in a messy bun. I'm wearing jeans and a hoodie. I am a proud member of Ekklesia, a multi-denominational campus ministry at Missouri State University. Since joining Ekklesia, I've had a couple different leadership positions, including the community engagement peer minister, and I am currently the president. I first found out about Ekklesia through the campus club page. I was primarily looking for an LGBTQ+ organization I could join, but I never expected to find a religious community that was as loving and as accepting as Ekklesia is. Before I even came to Missouri State, I sent an email to Michelle introducing myself and telling her who I was, and within less than a day, she responded. But I never wrote back because I was terrified. My religious trauma from my childhood prevented me from responding to this email. Once I got to Missouri State University, I decided to go to an Ekklesia Sunday night dinner, and it seemed to be the least intimidating event because if nothing else, we could at least talk about how good the food was. I showed up to the first Sunday night 2.5 years ago, and I just never left. 2 years after showing up to this dinner, I have been a resident of both of the previous Ekklesia houses, the White House and the Brown House, as we called them. I am now living in the multicultural house, which is owned and operated by Ekklesia. We went from 5 people living in an intentional community in 2 houses to the potential for up to 40 people living in an intentional community in one big building. Living in such a big house with so many different people has been a bit of a challenge, I'm not going to lie. But it has been so incredibly rewarding because I've met all different kinds of people, such as my dorm mates, Aaron and Pootie. They both have different majors than I do, and we're not involved in Ekklesia, so the chances of us crossing paths is slim to none. Yet, despite this, we have become very close and now spend our evenings watching our favorite childhood TV shows, as well as doing our homework. Or should I say, attempting to do our homework, because old Nickelodeon TV shows are so much more interesting. Going forward, I hope the multicultural house will continue to grow and welcome many new residents from diverse places with diverse identities. Currently, the house is close to half full and is home to students who are from Springfield and other Missouri towns, Illinois, Kansas, Texas, Bangladesh, Indonesia, Mongolia, the Bahamas, and Egypt. The fragrance of many foods greets you as you walk in the door, and the enthusiasm of the residents to share the foods and customs of their culture is palpable. Geography and ethnicity are not the only kinds of diversity that exist in the building either. Students who live there are transgender, non-binary, cisgender, gay, straight, and pansexual, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, atheist, and more. For years, Ekklesia has been an advocate for students of minority religious traditions to have the necessary accommodations to be able to practice their religion and for the campus to provide an adequate interfaith space for all students to attend to their spiritual growth while focused on the academic and career aspirations. We are so excited to be able to create that kind of space in the multicultural house now too. Michelle often says we learn from the best people who are different from us, and I am thankful that I have had this opportunity to learn from the friends I've made this year. We would love for you all to come visit sometime. You can always join us for a Sunday night dinner, the free meal we offer to students at 6 p.m. every Sunday. In fact, you can also bring the dinner if you want. First UU has been the provider of many Sunday night dinners that I've eaten. And here in a few months, you can check out our Jedi Resource Center. That's the fun name for our Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Library. That's a really important priority for us now, especially since state legislators all over the country are trying to ban books and dismantle diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts at state universities, public libraries, and public schools. The mission of Ekklesia has always been and continues to be twofold: the nurture and care of students in their faith and life journey, and influencing the culture of our institutions to make them more just, loving, and safe for all people. We hope each day to accomplish both these things. I'll close with the following wise words from Abhijit Naskar. The heart is too grand to be wasted on the gutter of cultural exclusivity.